This podcast is not meant in any way to be an alternative to medical advice, therapy, or treatment. I'm not a good replacement for a sponsor if you're choosing to work a 12-step program. If you or someone you know are in need of help with addiction or mental health, go online and find proper help in your area. I have nothing. There is no point in suing me. Welcome back to the Loudness McEvil Symposium, a journey through a 30-year battle with addiction and recovery. Each episode delves into the complexities of addiction, offering a raw and honest look at the struggles and triumphs that I faced during my path to recovery. The path countless others are struggling with right now, maybe one of your loved ones, or maybe it's you. It affects everybody. I aim to shed light on the often misunderstood nature of this disease. I'm hoping to build the Loudness McEvil Symposium into not just a podcast, but into a community of support and understanding, offering hope and inspiration to those seeking to reclaim their lives. And they can, you can, I did. If you just keep trudging through the muck and persist, your reason for doing so will reveal itself. If you don't think you have one already, you probably do. I was away last week, so I blew the weekly episode drops right off the bat. I jumped the gun when I released the first episode without having a few in the chamber. I'm pretty excited that I finally got my first question in my inbox through my website. The question is, what's with the name? At first I thought, mind your own business. But then I quickly moved to, it's fair. It's a weird name. But so was the guy who gave it to me. Shout out to Rod. Back in the 80s, when mullets were for boys and for girls, we all looked the same and we all wore acid-washed denim. I got my nickname due to a few of my traits. Being loud, clumsy, stupid, and obnoxious, to be specific. The whole nickname was the Loudness McEvil Symposium. I don't remember, cocky cripple, cold cucumber, I forget. It was really long. But the Loudness McEvil stuck. Or just loudness, just loud. I don't know. I just thought it was a perfect descriptor for this podcast because I am the Loudness McEvil Symposium. I'm Loudness McEvil. The symposium, I guess, would be about what happened to Loudness McEvil. And to be perfectly honest, trying to find a podcast or any information really about addiction is like searching for Jesus in Christian nationalism, maybe. I don't know. There might be something similar there, or familiar, but nobody knows anything about the topic they're talking about. They're academics, and that's no offense to the people who've made content about addiction, because it's really important. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back by doing this. There's just not a lot of people who have been, dumped into a garbage truck out of a dumpster, out there making podcasts about what that experience is like. There's thousands of podcasts dealing with great precision the unlivening of men, women, and children, consumed in binge listening weekends or on walks in the park. But something to give up the goods on addiction, there's very few. So that is what's with the name. Was it fate or destiny? I don't know. Seems like kismet that I had the name and was loud and obnoxious enough to be able to host a symposium about it. But I am not evil. I'm a McLeod, that's all. I've done bad and stupid things, and I've hurt myself, and I've hurt others that I never wanted to hurt, absolutely. But I've met evil face to face, and I've seen evil done to others, and I am not evil. Just loud, clumsy, stupid, and obnoxious. I have a brain that isn't balanced well chemically, though. And that's a perfect segue into today's episode, because today I'm going to go inside the brain. Don't worry, you don't need rubber gloves or anything, just a working sense of curiosity and maybe a snack. We're going to talk about what addiction actually does to your brain. Chemically, neurologically, historically, and spiritually. This information was the final piece of information I gathered before the light bulb finally illuminated the dark hole that I'd become. It was like the ring at the end of the rope for a flailing man to hold on to. Literally, if you know anything about the drugs I'm talking about, but also figuratively, if you can imagine someone drowning in their own misery. If you picture all of my previous attempts at sobriety as a rope, just out of reach, or just too slippery to hold on to, cold turkey's rope would hit me in the eye and, I'd just sink. The 12-step rope would land in the right spot, but I would just get too slippery to hold on to. Medically assisted therapy in conjunction with 12 steps or SMART would land in my hands and it would get me almost to shore, but to be perfectly honest, I would just get too tired and give up and I would let go. But this information, along with the 12 steps and a minimal understanding and participation in woodland Cree ceremonies and 4-directional healing, finally got me to shore. And now, thank God, I can stop speaking metaphorically because it's getting really annoying. It might seem a little weird to start the series with a piece of recovery that got me clean, but I'm not ruining the ending. You don't have all the secrets now. You aren't cured, not at all. I'm starting with neuroscience because addiction is a brain disorder. So to understand all of the things that have happened in my past, or to understand the things that are happening to your children, your parents, your siblings, or friends, etc., who are addicted to something, it's imperative that you understand the physiological deficits creating the psychological torments that are causing the tangible destruction. First, I'm not a neuroscientist. Take a second to let that sink in. So I'm not going to bullshit you into believing I understand what all of the neurotransmitters do or how they interact. I'll just tell you the simplest bits that I learned sitting in a classroom, and you can go to DuckDuckGo and down a rabbit hole and look for the science yourself. How our brain works is fascinating. The main neurotransmitters that I've learned about are the big three. Everybody probably has heard of them. Dopamine, that's why they call it dope. It's the stuff that dreams are made of. Serotonin is the stuff that happy is made of. Neuroepinephrine or neuroepinephrine, depending on where you're from, is the stuff that shadow people are made of. Shadow people will make appearances in the peripheries of future episodes, much like they do in the vision of tweakers. And if you don't know what shadow people or tweakers are, that's fantastic. You are lucky people. I actually had an idea. I was thinking I might put a dope dictionary on my website. I'm not sure when or if I'll even do it. The website is loudnessmcevil.com, loudnessmcevil.com. So, yeah, just keep checking it out. And if you have some vocabulary from the streets where you live, help me educate the good people who don't know what tweaking is and send it along. I'd love to hear what kind of crazy language you have. My website doesn't have a lot right now, still figuring it out, and it's not like I have stuff to sell or anything, but you can find links to most podcast platforms or my Discord. I would love to add writing and artwork maybe from addicts eventually, maybe even set up a little shop where stuff could be sold. If you're just interested in questions I'm not answering right now, you can also go to my website and just click the hold fast button. It takes you to a bot that I trained from Easy Peasy AI, and it can answer pretty well anything about addiction. It can likely be stumped, but I haven't been able to yet. Go ahead and ask it anything. Better yet, drop me a line to the contact page and tell me how I'm doing, or give me an episode idea. Something that interests you, that you want me to talk about. Okay, back to the brain. For a long time, addiction was seen as a moral failing. If you used too much, drank too much, gambled away everything, society assumed you just sucked at being a person. You were weak, selfish, maybe possessed. It's kind of a joke, but kind of not. In the 1800s, they called drinking too much dipsomania, from the Greek dipsa, to drink, and mania, means cuckoo. It's an historical term describing a medical condition that was actually seen as a form of mental illness, distinct from habitual drunkenness in that it was thought to be episodic and uncontrollable cravings. This distinction reflects the historical context in which alcohol abuse and dependence were beginning to be seen through the medical lens, albeit still influenced by social and moral, i.e., religious considerations. Over time, the medical community's understanding of addiction has developed. The term dipsomania has fallen out of favor, replaced by more clinically accurate terms. But by the 1980s, they called it criminal. The criminalization of narcotics and the onset of long-term imprisonment for drug-related offenses have roots that intertwine with historical, social, political, and racial factors. I would say mostly racial. The process began in earnest in the early 20th century and has evolved over time, influenced by various national and international developments. I plan on doing deep dives into those causes in the future. But it's important right now that I stay focused on things individuals have some control over in the immediate and build on those concentrically to problems that we need to band together to take on. If you're looking for something with societal ramifications right now, though, Bill 6 in the province of Ontario still hasn't and should not be allowed to pass. And go sign a petition or call your ombudsman or do whatever people do to, get involved. I'm just learning how to be a person. And in the U.S., start a group. Call yourselves American Musk. It's the stuff that oozes from a moose's butt glands to attract a mate. Musk. Ugh, yuck. The current pathetic state of affairs in the justice system regarding the use of narcotics can also be traced to attempts at racial and social control. Many of the early drug laws in the United States and other countries were deeply intertwined with racism and social control. For example, opium laws targeted Chinese immigrants. Cannabis prohibition was associated with Mexican immigrants. And cocaine laws were aimed at African Americans, even though it was brought to North America by white people. These laws were often justified by racially charged narratives that linked minority groups with dangerous drug use, while it was heavily armed, mostly white police officers doing the killing of the sedated minorities. Neuroscience has finally caught up with what addicts and Bill Wilson already knew. This is not about willpower, it's about our wiring. And the reward system is where everything starts. Your brain's reward system is like a neurochemical dog whistle for anything that might keep you alive, or at least distracted. Dopamine is released when you eat, you fall in love, high-five your buddy, or open a TikTok and scroll into oblivion. It's the yes, do that again button. Addiction hijacks this system by producing dopamine spikes so unnatural, so massive, that your brain immediately throws a party and puts that substance or behavior at the top of its to-do list. This feels like a perfect spot to stop for a minute and listen to an ad from today's sponsor. Are you experiencing joy too easily? Do your usual joy-filled activities like taking a walk, reading a book, or talking to a loved one seem boring? You may be a victim of dopamine diversion disorder, and we, the Dopamine Diversion Task Force, are here to help. Because your brain wasn't designed for sustained contentment. No, it was designed to chase fleeting highs like taking a big puff of squirrel. What was I saying? We specialize in taking your fragile, confused reward system and retraining it with vital, approved dopamine hit activities such as checking your phone 83 times an hour, doom scrolling through headlines that ruin your mood, buying things you don't need and can't afford, refreshing your dating apps in the middle of codependency therapy, and of course, gambling, gaming, snorting, scrolling, swiping, and spiraling. because why build sustainable joy when you can just nuke your neurochemistry and feel good for 6 whole minutes? The Dopamine Diversion Task Force. Side effects may include emptiness, apathy, existential despair, and accidentally opening LinkedIn. Ask your attention span if DDTF is right for you. Some of the key players that I know very little about because I'm not a neuroscientist and I don't have anything, so don't sue me. Dopamine has to do with your motivation, pleasure, retention. Drugs like cocaine, meth, and nicotine flood your brain with this stuff. Serotonin, that's your mood regulator, happiness, sleep. MDMA messes with this big time, along with antidepressants. I unfortunately seem to require antidepressants, so I'm in no way saying that they're bad or that you shouldn't take them, but they should be a resort, in my opinion, taken if your last resort craps the bed. I've heard a lot lately about alternative treatments for depression. I'm certainly not in a place where I should say them out loud because I know I can't take them. But talk to your doctor if you suffer from depression. Maybe you can get off of SSRIs and onto some rhymes with psilocybin and phetamine. Norepinephrine or norepinephrine. Norepinephrine or norepinephrine. I don't know. I like norepinephrine. It's easy for me to say. Fight or flight. That is what meth and stimulants crank up to 11. I'm looking at you, buddy. Yeah, you with the jaw thing going on. GABA calms and slows the brain down. Alcohol and benzos supercharge GABA, making you relaxed or unconscious. Endorphins are our natural painkillers. Opioids mimic these, so your brain gets tricked into stopping production of them. So when your bank account is empty, so are your endorphin receptors, and I'm afraid that's when you're in for a very long week or 3. That's withdrawal. Withdrawal is your brain trying to rebalance itself after being chemically manipulated. It's not just discomfort, it's your entire nervous system panicking, and the message your body receives are all bad. It's time to vomit until you're inside out, or it's time to poop till you cry, or your skin is your enemy, so get it off. It is impossible to describe the feeling of opioid withdrawal. It's impossible to find the right descriptive words. None that I've ever heard do it justice. I obviously didn't die from it, but there wasn't 1 second of the seeming infinite number of seconds that went by during the times I went through the cycle that I didn't want to. The thoughts that went through my mind, ways to come up with money to just get one more fix, just enough to come up with a real plan for real sobriety. I understand how horrible things are done by good people just wanting the pain to end, but I also understand if you can't. And victims of crime don't deserve any of the pain shared with them by desperate addicts. I want to make that very clear. I've done a lot of harm to others in place of doing it to myself. I don't know how the universe works, but I'm hoping that this podcast eliminates a tiny bit of the wreckage I left in my wake. I don't know how else to fix anything. I don't know anything about karma, so check out a Hindu podcast for that information, but I'll talk a lot more about damage control when I get into episodes about the 12 steps and how they work, or if they work. I think they work. That was just for dramatic effect. I'm not Captain Recovery, and I can't quote the big book, but the steps are something everyone should understand. You don't have to ever have had a drink to benefit from living by the way of the steps. If people just practice the steps, and I think good people just do it without realizing that's what they're doing. I'm not talking about the Christianity part of the steps, because there's no denying Christianity as part of the 12 steps, at least AA. It is and it isn't. Anyway, I'm going to get into that sometime down the road. I'm getting way off topic. Have I mentioned I might have a little bit of brain damage? So back to withdrawal. Let's go through some of the greatest hits. Opioids, bone deep pain, vomiting, diarrhea, sweating, insomnia, and the spiritual weight of 1,000 betrayals. Your brain's endorphin system is basically offline. I don't want to be too graphic, but let's say spontaneous bodily eruptions of every conceivable fluid continuously rack your body with unbelievable pain and psychological torture. It's impossible to do it justice. The discomfort is beyond words that I've ever heard. Methamphetamines. Depression is probably the biggest one, and exhaustion, cognitive fog, a total lack of motivation. Your dopamine system is fried like a fairground corn dog, and your skin feels just like that crust on them. Cocaine, also depression, irritability, paranoia, nightmares, cravings, sweats. Those are the ones that I've experienced. I mean, nicotine also is... it's hard to describe nicotine. I get the sweats. Not anymore, but I would get the sweats and find it difficult to sleep sometimes. But it's pretty easy to distract yourself for long enough so that the cravings go away. MDMA, I've never had withdrawal from, but it causes depression, social withdrawal, memory issues. Your serotonin system is tapped out. Gambling, you get cravings, restlessness, depression, and guilt. Your brain misses the rush, the chaos, and the false sense of control. Video game withdrawal consists of irritability, cravings, anhedonia, which means you can't feel joy, and intense boredom. Dopamine is all dried up. Social media withdrawal, you get anxiety, compulsive checking, fear of missing out, a gaping existential hole you used to fill with scrolling. The two substances that I'm aware of that can kill you just from the withdrawal symptoms on their own are benzos. Before you die, you will have anxiety, seizures, hallucinations. This withdrawal is brutal because GABA has left the building. I actually have experienced benzo withdrawal, and we didn't know what it was. I wasn't taking enough of them that it'd be anywhere near death, that's for sure. They were cut into other drugs. It's awful. That's all I can say. It's awful. And the other one that can kill you is alcohol. You'll have shakes, seizures, delirium tremens, or DTs, and then death. And what a horrible way to die. That's if you quit cold turkey. Never detox from alcohol alone. I wouldn't, just never detox alone. Just don't be alone. Just nothing good comes from loneliness. You can also suffer withdrawal from love. Obsession, mood swings, insomnia, and gut-level despair leads people to stay in terrible situations or do weird and regrettable things. Rhymes with stalking. Welcome to limbic system hell. So how to combat withdrawal without screaming into the void, which doesn't really work anyway. Might make you feel better for a minute, but there is no perfect fix. But here's what helps. With opioids, medication. Medically assisted treatment, or MAT, in my not a doctor or giving medical advice opinion, is 100% necessary for opioid recovery. Here are my opinions on the medically assisted treatments I've been on. Methadone. Methadone is from the middle of the 20th century, and it shows in its effectiveness. I was on it from 1998 to 2008, but wasn't sober for a day of that time. It will get you through the day without being sick, but coming off of it is, in my opinion, 10 times more difficult than coming off of heroin. So when I was broke, I would use it to get through the day without, pulling my teeth out. But I would also skip days when I had take-home carries. If I could bring the bottles home myself, I would skip days so that I could take twice as much on the third day. Or I would sell the bottles for cash or trade them for stuff that I really wanted. And the amount of methadone you need to take in order to combat fentanyl is absurd. When I was on it, I never went above 90 milligrams a day, and that was more than enough. I think 70 milligrams is kind of the death zone. If somebody who isn't on it takes 70 milligrams, it can kill them. I never went higher than 90, but people who are on it to combat fentanyl need hundreds of milligrams a day. It's crazy. And not only that, you'll never get off of it. It's great for harm reduction, but if you're serious about being free from the slavery of the analogs of fentanyl, it's outdated and it's painful. So it's not for fentanyl use. It's for 1970s heroin addicts in New York City. Suboxone is buprenorphine mixed with naloxone. Comes in little pills. They call them lemons sometimes. It's got naloxone in them, so you can't inject them, or you'll put yourself into instant withdrawals. Day 3 of withdrawal is basically when your brain realizes that the endorphin cupboards are totally bare and it throws a tantrum. Well, naloxone or Narcan, it empties those cupboards instantly, and so you're on day 3 of withdrawal within 30 minutes of having it. It has saved my life, and I've saved lives with it, but I have also literally told people to please not Narcan me, just let me die. It hurts that bad. Thankfully, nobody respected anything I said, so they went ahead and used it on me anyway. But, it's so bad. That really doesn't have a lot to do with Suboxone. Suboxone, if taken as prescribed, is a big step up from methadone. The problem is, for me, I can't take narcotics as prescribed. I take them when I want them, which is in great quantities and often. Plus, you can smoke the pills, or snort them, or sell them. You can't overdose on them. There is a ceiling, which is a very good thing for Suboxone to have. Maybe if you took a ridiculous amount, but Advil will kill you if you want to get real. If you take enough of them. So Sublocade, methadone, for me, no good. For an addict who can't take things as prescribed, Sublocade has changed my life. It's the same drug that's in Suboxone. It's buprenorphine. It doesn't have the naloxone in it, but that's okay because it isn't a pill, and you can't take it yourself. It's a once a month injection in the subcutaneous. What is it called? It's in your belly fat. Anyway, you get it around your midsection, around your belly button. So it's a shot in your stomach, and it stings a little bit. Leaves a little weird bump that you can feel because its bonding agent hardens on contact with the fat, and it slowly releases over a month. And there's a big window on either side of that month, so if you forget to get your shot or if you need it early, it's okay. And once it's in there, you can't mess with it. I mean, no one wants to buy a hunk of your fat. And there's something about it that just removed all of my cravings like nothing else has ever done. There's no high to it. The side effects are minimal. The withdrawal is probably not great, but it definitely isn't as bad as all of those other things. So this stuff saved my life, in part. I don't give any one thing credit for my sobriety. I tell anyone with opioid addiction that if you want to be clean, you sublicate. If you make excuses not to try it, in my opinion, you just don't want to be sober that bad. And that's just a fact. I refused to get off of methadone because it served a purpose for me. It protected my addiction. So did Suboxone. Staying in the life because you don't want a bump in your abdomen that no one can see is stupid. It's just an excuse. Speaking of which, I'll have to see if I can get Denial to sponsor an episode soon. Anyway, before I forget, staying hydrated, also incredibly important. A lot of withdrawal symptoms are lessened, definitely not removed, but lessened simply by drinking a lot of fluids. It's kind of hard to drink when you're sick, but do your best. I mean, fluids are important. That's why hospitals put you on fluids immediately if you go in there and they know that you are going to be withdrawing. Meth withdrawal requires a lot of fluids as well. It requires a lot less than opiates. It requires sleep, food, sunlight, and probably the most important thing is structure. Seriously, routine should become your new drug if you are coming off of anything. Benzos, you have to taper slowly under medical supervision. Cold turkey is Russian roulette, and even if you don't die, you will want to. And alcohol is the worst one that I can imagine. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't trade an opiate addiction to be an alcoholic. It's just a miserable sickness. One time I was in a treatment facility with a guy who came in. We didn't realize how sick he was, but in the morning, he was sitting up at the front of the class trying to order a rum and coke from the counselor who he believed was his wife. We found out later. He was very, very near death. He ended up going to the hospital for maybe 4 days or so and drying out before he came back. But the damage that alcohol does to your body and your brain, and the sickness every single day, and then the withdrawal that kills you, it's the social acceptance, I think. It's everywhere. And if you don't drink, you're ridiculed for it. It's just bizarre. I feel for people who are trying to not drink. I didn't really mean to get that far into withdrawal, but it is kind of a big part of the neurology of addiction. Withdrawal is your brain recovering from whatever you've done to it. And I just wanted people who are with somebody who's going through it or possibly going through it themselves to understand what's happening, maybe to garner a little bit of empathy. But just for people who are going through it, I want you to know that you'll get through it. It's just hard, Don't do it by yourself. The medical community has changed a lot from the days when I first started trying to get clean. The very first time I tried to get sober, they gave me acupuncture things to put in my ears and vitamin C. That's how I was supposed to get through opiate withdrawals. Things have changed a lot since then. So if you or someone you love needs help, don't hesitate to go and get it. If you have to go to an emergency room, go to an emergency room. They're not always super nice, but they'll send you to the right place at the very least. There is no possibility that you are going to escape, certainly opiates, without any discomfort. I've always said that for every ounce of pleasure you get from it, there is an ounce of pain to be paid with later. And that's an exaggeration for sure these days, but you are going to be in some level of discomfort. You can't escape it, but if you want to be free, it's the price you pay. But in hindsight, it's not that bad. Our minds have a really cool trick they play, and we forget the horrible parts. that's one of the things that keeps us going back. But for me, it's kind of nice because I know it was awful, but, I don't think about the terrible things. I just look at my life today and think, wow, was I ever being a baby at the time? I should have done this sooner. Life is pretty incredible. I got a little bit sidetracked there, thinking about how awful alcohol is. With cocaine, therapy, connection, physical activities, anything that feels real, a lot of these things are true for all, just life in general, but all substances. Therapy is important. Connection is the opposite of addiction, according to some people. Physical activity boosts your endorphins so they come back much, much faster. And just having other people around. MDMA, if you're doing Molly all the time, rest, you're not really going to be able to avoid that. You're going to be sleeping whether you want to or not for a while. But proper nutrition and fluids are huge. Emotional processing, you have to talk it out even if it hurts. Gambling, you need to remove access. Get rid of your phone if you have to. Build real accountability. Put things in place where you cannot spend money. Replace the thrill. Go to the gym or start painting or learn a language or whatever it is that you love. Do it. Speaking of love, it has its own withdrawal symptoms. I looked up ways to combat the withdrawal symptoms from love addiction. So you want to distance yourself from, I would guess, just people. Like, don't date for a while. Yeah, no contact with certainly the person that you're in love with. Build a community, get a network of friends. Cry alone in grocery store parking lots. That's my personal experience. Don't do that. Video game addiction. Don't go near screens. Schedule human interactions. Engage in real-world rewards. Get some sunlight. There is no such thing as an incel. It's all voluntary. Stop treating women like garbage, and maybe you'll have a chance with one of them. And Andrew Tate is a loser who unlawfully confines women because he got teased about his glass chin or whatever it was. But I'll tell you this, broicism is a joke on you. Getting away from myself again there, sorry. No matter the substance or behavior, the antidote to addiction isn't just sobriety, it is connection, meaning, and purpose. And those things don't come from willpower. They come from building new pathways, one awkward, painful, glorious step at a time. Those pathways are the things your brain relates with rewards, like Pavlov's dog. Pavlov was a scientist who studied his dog's reactions over time. As he rang a bell before every feeding, eventually the dog would salivate just at the sound of the bell because there's a reward system related the sound of the bell to food, and food is one of the dog's few pleasures in life and obviously necessary for survival. That's the same as our reward system or limbic system. Way down there in the middle of your head somewhere. It's the old lizard brain we had before we wore ties and started freezing our foreheads so that other people can't tell we age like everybody else. That part of the brain, and literally, and I'm using that word correctly, unlike any person 35 or under these days, tells the other parts, the parts that are you, that the drug or the substance is now literally necessary for survival. So the piece of the puzzle I got when I learned all of this was that building new neural pathways could override the old harmful ones. So in conjunction with an entire recovery plan, the addition of new neural pathway construction is what did it for me. Gave me freedom. I decided to try a few different things to build these pathways. Like I just said, I downloaded a language app and learned French. Secondly, and actually the first thing I did was to stop listening to music with violence or drugs in them. Alice in Chains, especially, for some reason, their original lineup was especially triggering for me for years. Their singer Lane Staley has the saddest story, not just of a musician, but of a person. Ugh. Anyway, so I can't listen to, I couldn't listen to old Alice in Chains for a long time. Same as Wu-Tang Clan, same as Elliott Smith. There was a lot of music I just completely cut out of my playlist for a full year. The same went for all media. Movies, TV. I never really got into video games anyway, but I didn't want anything with violence or drugs around. Anything that got me all worked up. I got arrested when I was 14 after Karate Kid Part 2 for kicking in a plywood door at a construction site. So I can't even watch Cobra Kai. But, that's what it takes. You have to make changes. I thought picking up an instrument would be a good learning tool to build new pathways. So I got an acoustic guitar, and eventually I got a keyboard, and I still can't play them. But for a year, it's been 3 years now. I've been noodling around on them a lot. I really should be able to play them by now. But anyway, I can't, but I have a good time. And my brain feels rewards when I improve. It's pretty amazing, actually. I love learning new things and experiencing new things. If I start craving a cigarette, I pull out my phone and I do a French lesson. Et pas de fumer pour moi maintenant. Once the physical withdrawal is over, and it doesn't need to be bad nowadays with Sublocade and other treatments, find something you've always wanted to do and go for it. All of the things I've had to learn to create the images in the YouTube video, or even just the audio recordings, have built a ton of new pathways and given me a feeling of purpose I never had in my whole life. It's wild. Nothing about recovery is easy, but it's simple. You have to want it, and you have to take the first step. After that,